But oh my goodness, listen to the video completely before you just decide to go and buy one. Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space out in my backyard. And today we are outside because we are going to plant some more, hopefully a good amount of our Greenstalks tonight. We have quite a few either kale or collard plants that need to be planted, and we have a few Greenstalks that need to be planted with those plants. I dropped my tripod. So the Greenstalks that we have left are this lemon one here. We have the lilac over there. We have both of the Greenstalks in the greenhouse that need to be planted as well. And then both of them over here. There goes Brooklyn. I know y'all be asking about Brooklyn, but we have both of these over here that need to be planted as well. By the way, y'all, look at them carrots coming up. I didn't ruin it. You remember I told you I forgot to water, and then I forgot to plant all kinds of stuff, so I didn't ruin it. They coming up, they looking good. Now, something did eat the beans over here too. So I had planted my beans over here. They ate them too. It was not my year for beans, and that is A-okay at this point. We're not trying to get any more beans. Although the beans over here, which I think is crazy, is still growing just fine. Like, how did it decide which beans it wasn't? Now, you know what I did do in this one that is different from what I did in the garden and that other Greenstalk? I direct sowed these. So they were never in a pot. I didn't have to transplant them. I direct sowed those. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Because everything else, the ones I put out in the purple bags, the Bootstrap Farmer bags, they were transplants. And so was the ones that I put in that other Greenstalk. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We're gonna plant out some more Greenstalks. And if you remember, I don't know, maybe it was a week and a half ago, I put up a community post and I asked people, like, because I saw a comment and a person was saying that they had planted their Greenstalk. I can't remember what they planted it with, but everything died. So they emptied it and they put it in the corner and they were scared to try again. And I'm over here just like having a ball growing in them, right? I don't make a lot of content teaching about them because I don't like to do teachy content, period, right? But I also know that people have purchased Greenstalks over here because I said, like, these are a great way to grow. And so I think I owe it to you all who have purchased them, who maybe are not having a good experience with them, to do more videos that are teaching. Because like I said, I'm over here just having a great time with them, but other people are not. And some of you have purchased them to support me, or just because I said, hey, they're a good way to grow and it was the best way for you to grow. So we're gonna do a video today, and I'm gonna, you know, if y'all have questions, just, you know, continue to ask me, because the reality is Greenstalks are containers. And for me, because I've been growing in bags, I already know that like containers or bags, they take a little more work. I already know that I have to fertilize them a little bit different, because I've been growing in grow bags since, like, I don't know, 2021. I think that's when I learned about grow bags. It was my second year gardening. And so I understand that it takes a little bit more to grow in a container in general. And the reality is Greenstalks are containers. So I was just bringing you out here to show you, like, I grow in a lot of bags. If you're new here and you haven't seen this, I grow in a lot of bags. I think we're over like 70 plus bags out in the garden, and I really like growing in bags. Someone asked me, like, have I thought about taking bags out and putting Greenstalks in? At a point I did think about that, but I actually really like growing in bags. I like the way that they look, so I won't be doing that now. Like I said, I might take out that elevated raised bed, donate that to a school, and put a Greenstalk over there. But I'm not going to replace any of my bags with them. I like my bags. So I want to talk about growing in Greenstalks. And I do have a list. I wrote down the questions from the community section that I was asked. I'm just going to kind of talk through it the way that I see it as well. And I wrote down questions because I don't want to forget anything. Y'all know, if you're not new here, that I will get out here and I will get to talking, and I just, you know, I just go with it. I don't have a plan. I don't plan out my videos, but I did bring a list out. out. So we're gonna use this list and I'm gonna talk through and also demonstrate, because one of the big things that people are saying, you know, is an issue is the watering. And I do see people saying that they water every day. And it's people who have been using Greenstalks for a while. There's people who are new to Greenstalk saying this. And I'm not saying one way or the other that you should, you shouldn't, you do, you don't. I'm only going to share how it works for me. I do a deep watering. So if it's already moist and it rains, that just helps it. But I do a deep watering. Even in the heat of the summer, I'm watering maybe every other day, and sometimes I could get to every 3 days. I just don't water mine every day, but I will show you how I water mine. And it is time consuming. It does take time, but this is the same way that I would water my grow bags, because the Greenstalks are no different. They are containers. While I find them very easy to grow in, they still are containers and they still require work. They still require attention. So, you know, I just want to put that out there, because I don't know, maybe I'm making it look like I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing much, but I definitely do water, and I water deeply, and it is time consuming. I just don't water every day. And I try my hardest not to let them dry out, because once you let them dry out, it takes a lot to get them re-moistened, because they are a container, just like any other container, right? I think it's also important to know that you have to have decent soil, whether you make that soil and it's light and loamy and airy, or whether you purchase that soil that's light and loamy and airy. You do have to have decent soil. I mean, even if you get some heavy soil and you amend it with light things like cocoa coir or peat moss, it does need to, in my opinion, if you've grown it differently. This is why I don't like making teachy videos, right? Because I never want to come and say this is the only way. And teachy videos sometimes feel like that. But from my experience gardening, I know there's not just one way to do everything. So please keep that in mind when I'm talking through this. I'm sharing my experience. And in my experience, light, loamy, airy soil is necessary. That's the only thing I've ever used in them. And I have a friend who did use something that was not light, loamy, and airy. And I do think the soil had to be changed. So I'm only giving my experience. Also, I want to put out there that Greenstalk has resources. You can literally call and schedule a meeting with their gardener, and she will talk to you. I know they do calls. They might even do video calls. So there are resources. Greenstalks are not cheap. And I never want to act as if they're a cheap option. They are not. They, you know, they're normally between like $89.99 and up. You catch them on a sale like $89.99 and up. So there are resources. Their website has resources too. There are options for you to get help with this, because I might be different from you, because I don't live, and y'all, I'm just saying all of this before we get into it, because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm saying this is what you have to do. I live in Virginia, zone 7B. So we are hot, we are humid here, but you may live in a 5B or a 5A or a 9A or 9B. And so things may be a little bit different for you. And so maybe in the 9, in the 10 zones, people do have to water every day. I'm just giving my experience that I don't have to water every day. So let me get some seedlings. We're gonna plant out the one that y'all are sitting on, and we're gonna talk about this real quick. Okay, so this Greenstalk is going to be a mix of kales, different varieties, because this is right by the door. I would like to also have one that's collards right by the door, but I cannot do that because this one is herbs, and that's fine. I could just do it in a closer one. Well, it's gonna be somewhere out in this garden, but it's okay. So right here we have a dazzling blue kale. Let me grab the other kale varieties and I'll be right back. So we're basically gonna do 6 of each in here, and it'll be right by the back door, so it'll be easy for me to just come out and harvest it when it's getting cold outside, because y'all know I don't like the cold. So we actually will have space for collards. I already planted the curled kale, and we only ended up with 4 types of kale. And so you got 3. And so I could put some collards down the bottom too. or mix them in. However, I forgot, I already planted some Georgia Southern collards right across from here. So we should actually be good to not have to walk too far for leafy greens, but also still have extra leafy greens throughout the garden because we are putting them in other green stalks as well. So, all right, I don't know what I did with my hori knife. I'm very, very sad about that. I have no idea what I did with it. I had it when I was out here planting the other day and I cannot find it, which is very sad for the green stalks because they work amazingly in green stalks. So one thing I will tell you, if you're looking for something that's going to get pretty much all the way down the green stalk into the pocket to the deepest one, because these are the original pockets, I want to say that's what they call them, and then they have a leaf pocket, and the leaf pocket is, I want to say, 7 inches deep. So you got 10 inches, you got 7 inches. Either way, the hori knife is great for it. Just don't know where mine is. Be right back though. Okay, so here's the thing. I have found my hori again, but now I've lost it once more. Anyway, we just gonna use this. It's not as good as the hori, but we just gonna use this. I have my water. It's been like high 80s here. Still, you know, warm enough to need some water. And I think this morning it was like 70 something degrees. It's been pretty in the morning. Anyway, let's get to work and get to talking. So, all right, first thing that I want to talk about is I am an affiliate of Greenstalk. But I want to say I did not become an affiliate before I purchased a product. I purchased the product because I was like, okay, after 5 years of wanting this, I'm just gonna buy it. I'm going to see how they work, and I purchased a Greenstalk. After purchasing my first one, I became an affiliate. After that, they have gifted me some. I have purchased some. It's been both things happening. So I support Greenstalk with my own money, and Greenstalk supports me because I am an affiliate for the company, right? So I want to throw that out there because I don't want people to think I'm only talking about Greenstalk because I'm an affiliate. If you're an affiliate, you get commissions. I am getting commission when someone purchases a Greenstalk, right? But I wouldn't keep telling you about Greenstalk if I wasn't growing things in them and if I did not believe in it. That's just not how I roll. So just want to throw that out there first. Anyway, one of the questions I got was, have I ever tried another vertical planter? I have. So before I was posted to YouTube, before I knew that I really wanted to do this and I wanted my whole backyard to be a garden, I purchased the stackables from the Dollar Tree. I'm not saying anything about those stackables. If you have them and they work, I think that's wonderful. I'm very happy because it is a very economical way to grow vertically. In my backyard, they kept falling over because, in their defense, I didn't do anything extra to stake them. I know people will take rebar and put it through the middle. They do something to stake it to make them a little more sturdy, right? I didn't do that. I didn't know. I was seeing people run to the dollar store and get them. I thought they were cool and they were economical, so I went and got them too. I got to get some gloves, y'all. I'm struggling. Give me 1 second. And so I thought, oh, these are cool. I'm going to go get some too. Originally, they kept falling. And you also got to remember, my area is not level. I did not level the area for them, right? Also, I'm putting blood meal in here. I've already amended these pockets. However, because these are containers, what I give them is all they're going to get, right? So I am going to add some blood meal. I also did this in my garden beds. I honestly do not garden much different in the Greenstalks than I do in other spots in the garden. So back to what I was saying. So they were falling over because my area wasn't level, number one, and number two, I don't think that they were heavy enough for my backyard in my area. So Greenstalk is not the first vertical planter that I have tried. I have also tried the Dollar Tree vertical planter. It just didn't work out well for me. And then eventually they started to dry rot. So I just got rid of all of them. But that was before I was posting to YouTube, I believe. I do think there are some pictures on Instagram, but you would have to go way back to see that I did have them. And I ended up like kind of stacking them down. I think I had like 2 a piece, something like that I had stacked. But eventually they started to dry rot and crack and I got rid of them. So I have tried other options. I did not go straight to Greenstalk. I did try other options. Do I like Greenstalk? Do I love Greenstalk? I absolutely do. And it is not because I'm an affiliate. It's because I've had pretty good success with them. So to answer that question, yes, I have tried other vertical planters. They have another one, but it's called a tower. And I believe that you can make compost in the middle of it, but I did not get that one. I feel like they're a little bit wider than these. And again, I wanted a Greenstalk for 5 years. So a big portion of me not getting them originally was they were kind of pricey. And one night I was like, I want one. I'm just gonna go ahead and get one. And the other thing was, I was like, do I need them? I have garden beds, I have grow bags. Do I actually need them? And do I need them? No. Are they helping me grow more food and also allowing me to grow more of something that I want to preserve for months? Yes. Let's see. I'm trying to go to like most important type thing. So with the setup, is it important to level it? Nobody asked me this. I just think it's something that people will want to know. Is it important to level it? Is the soil important, which we already talked about earlier? And the amendments. Is it important to amend? What do I use to amend? Are mine level? All of that stuff. My first year of growing in Greenstalks, I did not level them. I only had one fall over, and that one was literally on a slant. But then I moved them. I moved them to an even more unlevel space, and they definitely started falling. So if you are 100% sure that you are on a space that is not level, I would say yes, go ahead and level them, because that is one of the things that I hear as a complaint. I'm in the Greenstalk group too, and I see that as a complaint. I've heard people say it here, that their Greenstalk just keeps falling. Even when mine was not level, I did not deal with them falling. Like I said, so total, since I've had Greenstalks, which I got them last year, I want to say around like April, I've had them fall 3 times. The one that was completely not level, and the 2 that was completely not level over there. Like I knew they were not level. Would I say you need to level them? I would say yes. Whether you're gonna go and get sand and level them, whether you're gonna dig your ground down, whether you're gonna use pavers, I would say that it's important to level them. And not only for the falling over part of it, but for the watering. If it's not level, it's possible that one side of your Greenstalk will get watered better than the other side. And that's because, well, if you're watering using the top reservoir, which that's a question that I get a lot, you know, like, are you using the reservoir to water? Are you watering every pocket? And I say all the time, it just depends. I feel like I say it all the time. If I did not, then the answer is it just depends. Back to what I was saying, setup, leveling. I think it's important to level. If you had caught me last year, I would have told you no, I don't think it's that big of a deal, because I had them over here and nothing was falling over. But then when I got them to a very unlevel space, that's when I realized, oh no, it absolutely does matter. And so like I said about the soil, I just think a super loamy soil, something with some cocoa coir, peat moss is probably good. I am using Fox Farm and Burger BM6 at this point. There's a mix, that's the only thing I've ever used so far, but you don't have to use those because there are other light and loamy potting mixes as well. So I wouldn't use like raised bed soil or in-ground soil unless I was gonna add something to really lighten it up. Perlite could also help lighten it up too. So unless I'm using something that's gonna lighten it up, make it a little bit airy, I wouldn't use those soils. But that's just my personal opinion on this. And that's all I can give you is my personal opinion. And then the amendments. So when I originally started growing in Greenstalks, I did not have rabbit manure. I did have meal grinds, and people ask me what meal grinds are. It's a machine that basically recycles, dehydrates the food that goes into it, makes it smaller. You put it into the soil, it basically continues to compost. It is not a composter though. But there's a link down in the description for that too. There's a link for the Greenstalks as well down in the description if you're interested. But oh my goodness, listen to the video completely before you just decide to go and buy one. Anyway, the amendments, I was basically using, I want to say meal grinds. I was mixing compost with my soil, and then I was using a granulated fertilizer, and it worked just fine. Right now, I use rabbit manure, meal grinds and granulated fertilizer. But you can use basically the same thing that you would fertilize your main garden with, or mend your regular garden with, or any garden. If you don't have a garden, if you just decide, I'm gonna try Greenstalks because this is how I'm gonna start. Whatever is marketed to use in the garden, you can use in the Greenstalks. I do use liquid fertilizer once things start to grow, and my preference for fall gardening is fish emulsion, and I use the Alaska one because I wasn't aware that fish emulsion came in different NP and Ks. I thought they were all 511, but that is not the case. I use one that's 511, so 5 nitrogen, 1 phosphorus, and 1 potassium. Fall vegetables like nitrogen, and so that's what I use. For the summer and spring, at this point, I started to use all-purpose, just because I saw evidence of it helping out my plants that do flower. I was using Espoma Organics, and then I switched to Neptune's Harvest because I ran out of Espoma Organics. I got the Espoma Organics on sale at the end of the season, and so that's why I was using that. It's kind of small for my space, and the Neptune's Harvest seemed to last longer, so that's why I used it. And for my granulated fertilizer, I use Espoma Organics as well. I'm not married to a fertilizer. If I find it on sale, I'm gonna use it. I really do like the Espoma Organics granulated because I've been using that probably since I started gardening. In the Greenstalks and in my main garden, and it works really well, so I don't see the point in not using it. So that's what I say about fertilizing. One of the things I will talk about with fertilizing too is people ask, like, do you fertilize from the reservoir or do you fertilize from each pocket? It's the same way with my watering. It just depends on the situation. If I'm growing something big, and I know the roots have probably kind of, like really worked their way into the middle of the Greenstalk, and they're just kind of, I don't know, you wouldn't call it root bound, but like if it's a mat of roots in there, sometimes I will fertilize each pocket. So like my peppers, sometimes I will fertilize each pocket. If I'm in a rush, it's going through the top. But if I have time, I will fertilize each pocket. I just feel like the fertilizer will go directly to the plant if I do it that way. But do I also think that fertilizing works through the reservoir? I do. I have been able to watch when I did not fill my soil all the way to the top. This is one of them where I need to top the soil off. When I didn't fill my pocket all the way to the top, I could actually see where it was dripping down from the top all the way to the bottom. So I do think that it works. I also think though that if you have a Greenstalk that's full of heavy feeders, so for instance, this is gonna be a Greenstalk that's full of heavy feeders. Fall vegetables, brassicas, are heavy feeders. So this would be one where I would fertilize each pocket if I have the time. If I don't, it's going through the top because some fertilizer is better than no fertilizer. And just like if you are fertilizing your main garden, your in-grounds, your raised beds, your no digs, you want the soil to be moist. So you got to make sure that the soil is moist when you go to fertilize as well. Because one of the things that I hear people say is, the water runs right through the bottom. You're going to have some of that just because the way that this system is set up, you put the water in the top. Some of it stays in the top and it drips out of this top right down into this first tier. But then there's gray disc in the middle, which if you have one, you know what gray disc I'm talking about. Water also drops down into those gray discs, and then it drips down into the next one and the next one and the next one. If those gray discs fill up, then yes, water is going to continue to come out and your fertilizer is going to continue to come out. I haven't figured out yet how much I can put in without it coming all the way out. If you figure that out, then you in there, because then you know how much you can put in without losing any fertilizer, because that's one of the things that somebody was worried about. They were like, they put a little bit into the reservoir, but they tried to avoid having it run out, which makes sense because it's wasting fertilizer. So in that case, if you wanted to, you could just if you have the time to, because it's a lot of pockets, and depending on how many Greenstalks you have, that would take some time and take some work. I sometimes just do it because I have the time. but I also will fertilize from the top. I do realize that it works. Do I lose fertilizer sometime coming out? I do, but again, you can fertilize from the top. I don't know what those were. Must be top bunch. Those are top bunch collars. It's the only collars I had left. Okay, so those are, I put the collars in here. I meant to do all kale. I was talking and that's what happened, so it's okay. We'll be fine. And so for the fertilizing, and sometimes you can hear it hitting each one. That's how I found out that I was okay to water from the top. I just kind of stood and listened. It's just the type of person that I am. I kind of stood and I listened and I could hear it hit all the way down. And then of course the bottom tier was moist. So I was like, it's gotta be working because I'm not watering each pocket anymore. But you can do it either way. And if you have a plant that you know is thirsty, or you have a plant, like I said, that you know is going to be a heavy feeder, or if you have a whole Greenstalk that's going to be a heavy feeder, just feed each pocket. But I do both. I'm just telling you that I do both, and it works both ways as well. And then sometimes you may, especially if you have a bunch of heavy feeders, if you want to put it through the top, you may have to do that like twice, more than once, to feel comfortable with the fact that it did get to where it was supposed to get. So that's my spiel on fertilizing, whether I do it from the top, whether I do it each pocket. It depends on the situation for me, but I think that I'm going to start bringing y'all along a little more when I do it, because I know I learn from doing, but some people learn from seeing, some people learn from reading. So, you know, I'm gonna just start taking y'all along with me so that you can see what I'm doing. Oh, somebody asked about how many bags of soil this takes. Mine took 2 75%, 2 3/4. Y'all, if you're not new here, you know I'm not good at math. It took 2 3/4 bags of Fox Farm Happy Frog, but also when I use my Burger BM6, that comes in a, what, 3.3 cubic feet, I think, bag, and I don't have to use that whole bag to fill this up. So just throwing that out here. Oh, somebody asked me how many feet apart do I think the Greenstalks need to be? And to that I say, I think it depends on what you're growing in them. So for instance, if you're growing strawberries in your Greenstalks, strawberries don't get like really big where you need to have a lot of space in between the Greenstalks because the plants are gonna hit each other and break and stuff like that. But now if you are growing peppers or tomatoes, or if you are planning to put any of the supports on there, then I would say you want to have at least a foot in between each one, if not 2 feet. And I'll show you that once I finish planting this one out. And I say that because when I had all of them all in this little space right here, when I turned them, a lot of my plants were getting caught on each other and sometimes they were breaking. So I do recommend, if you're putting anything bushy in there, to think about giving it a little bit of space. I didn't do that my first year, so I learned from trial and error. Well, my first year with them all in one space together. I also learned it when I had them by this fence over here and in between those T-posts. I couldn't even turn them really because they didn't have the space. So I would say around like a foot, 2 foot to give them space for you to turn them, if you're turning them. If you're not turning them, like if yours is sitting in full sun on each side, then I would say you don't have to worry about the space that you're giving them because you don't have to turn them. I found that I needed that space because I have to turn them. And so I give mine about, at this point, I give them about a foot to 2 foot worth of space. I'm trying to look, just so I don't end up breaking the plants. That's literally the only reason why I do that. Somebody asked me, I'm working off memory, but I am gonna go back to my paper. And I'm not moving the camera much because trying to get stuff planted out. But somebody asked me a accessory that I cannot go without. They said a non-negotiable. The only one that I would say I cannot go without, that I would not want to grow in the Greenstalk where I live right now without, is the spinner base. And I've always said that the spinner base for me, for one, you see how I'm planting now, I don't have to walk around this Greenstalk. I can spin the Greenstalk and just continue to plant. The other thing is, like I just was saying, my son comes from that way. So if I didn't have the spinner base, either I would be like picking this up and moving it, and I'm not going to do that, or I wouldn't be growing much on the back, or I would be growing things that could take a lot of shade. So with that being the case, I'm going to stick with the spinner base. That's the one thing that, girl, I'm turning up while I'm talking to y'all. I just mixed them up. So we gonna have red Russian kale and Alabama blue collards on the same, it's okay, who cares? It's all right, we good. Anyway, I'm gonna stick with that one. There are other accessories that I do like, and we're gonna talk about some more of those. I don't get some of the accessories because it's not things that I think I would need, but if I'm gonna tell y'all about Greenstalk, I need to tell y'all about Greenstalk. So there are accessories that I'm going to try. I'm going to try the netting, I'm going to try the frost cover, and I'm also going to try the watering system. Only on one Greenstalk, just because in my mind, I don't need them, but you never know. I might find that I really like all of those things. So my one non-negotiable accessory is the spinner base. I would recommend anybody get it. Like I've said before, unless you have a Greenstalk that's sitting in full sun, like straight up full sun on all sides, because full sun means like 6 hours of sun. When I say full sun in this context, I mean each side of your Greenstalk is getting sun. Okay, so someone's wanted to know, how often do I fertilize? How often do I water? I do say this often with the watering. I check the soil to see if it needs to be watered. I also turn my Greenstalk, because you can feel when your Greenstalk is light. If you have the spinner base, you can turn it, you can feel when it's light. And if you turn it and it feels light, then you can just stick your finger in the soil and see if it needs to be watered. So mine could stand a little bit of water, but not that much. And I'm gonna have to do a little bit of watering just because I'm transplanting these. Basically, if you stick your finger in your soil and when it comes up, there's no soil on your finger because it's dry, then you know you need to water. If there's soil on your finger and you can feel that it's moist, then you don't need to water. But if it comes back up and it's dry, or if it's dry to the point that you can't get your finger through it, then you know that you need to water. But also, when I do water, I basically do a deep watering, just like I would do in my garden. I will water each pocket, and then I will put water through the reservoir probably twice, something like that. And then I'll move on to another Greenstalk, do the same thing, water each pocket, put water through the reservoir. Once I finish that one, I come back to the one I just did and do it all over again. So I can get away with doing the pockets twice and running water through twice, and that will get me through 2 to 3 days, and I don't have to water. Now, again, it depends on where you are. It depends on your weather in your area. Will that work for Arizona and Florida? I don't know, y'all. I honestly don't know because I don't live there. Will it work for places like Georgia and Texas? I don't know because I don't live there. But I do know for me in Virginia Zone 7B, it has worked. The other thing is, even when there isn't anything in the Greenstalk, I still will water it. Now, I don't go that hard in the beginning when I first plant a plant because I don't want them to rot. But once the plants have gotten bigger, I will do what I just told you. But what I was about to say is, I also water my Greenstalks when there's nothing growing in them, because you don't want the soil, just like in your garden beds, you don't want the soil to get super dry and then you have to work to try to rehydrate it. You don't want to do that. It's no different in the Greenstalks than it is in bags or your actual garden beds. So even when there's nothing in them, I still water them. Like this one has been empty for a few weeks. When I water the rest of them, I still was watering this one. Again, not going as hard as I am with like the ones that have peppers in them. And so for instance, right now, some of the Greenstalks only had peppers and the rest of the pockets were empty. So I was watering the peppers each pocket because I didn't want to soak the other soil, but I was still watering the other pockets once to make sure that the soil stayed moist. Like I said earlier in the video, they are still work. You're still gardening. You're just gardening vertically. I don't know if I was making it look easy. I do find it to be easy, but not in the sense of set it and forget it type easy, or, you know, plant it and walk away type easy. You still have to work with it. And you also have to find kind of what works in your area. Like for me, I can water each pocket twice, run water through twice, and that'll hold me over for 2 to 3 days, right? But one of the things that happens in my backyard is around like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6 at the latest, my garden also, the sun is not on my garden. So like right now you can see that there's sun on me, but if you look over there at the garden, there is no sun. So we always talk about microclimates. Everybody's microclimate is different too. What works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. But what I do believe is that Greenstalks are good options to grow food. And I personally believe that you can grow just about anything in them. I have grown squash in them, peppers, tomatoes, beans, potatoes. I've grown all kinds of things in them, and I've watched other people grow, you know, onions in them. I've seen people grow sunflowers in them. So I do think that they are viable options to grow. I also really just think that if you want to grow in them, you have to take the time to learn what works in your area for them. But I'm going to keep continuing to share. Another reason why I wasn't, because I'm going to start again. Sometimes I get in my head, but it's not even always in my head because people have said it, you know, like selling this and selling that. And while I am an affiliate, and while if you use my link, I do get a commission, I'm telling you about a product that I like. And again, people have purchased these because I am using them. And I have to start giving more information that is helpful, even if it feels like selling, because my whole video is about Greenstalk. When I read that comment, I really was like, oh my goodness. And I don't know if that person purchased it because of me. I have no idea. But I know that there are people out here that did. And I don't know that those people aren't struggling to grow food too. I'm gonna start to talk about Greenstalks a little bit more. It's not gonna be my whole channel, but yeah, at least once or twice a month, I'm gonna talk about what I'm doing in my Greenstalks, and it's not gonna just be like show and tell, because I feel like that might be some of what I've been doing, because I was excited. I was so excited that like they worked as well as they did. I'm still excited that they work so well that I can put my kale in here, my collards in here, and grow my broccoli out there. So like, I'm still super excited. And truthfully, I could grow broccoli in here too, but I just want to grow it in the garden, right? So I just feel like I owe it to y'all, to the people who purchased it and who maybe are not having great success with it. Those are all of the questions that I had. I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all how I water. I done messed this up, baby. So I'm not gonna put my straw back on here yet, just because I want to water. And these were also, they already had a lot of water, and I told y'all that's why I'm trying to get everything planted, because a lot of my stuff was waterlogged from all of that rain that we've been having. I have one more tier down here, and I'm just gonna save it to see what extras we have, and whatever extras we have, I'll put down at the bottom. So let's go see how I water. So these are my herbs, and I don't water these much, so I don't think that using these is a bad idea, because I can't overwater something that I rarely water anyway. And so that's another thing. It also depends on what you're growing as to how often you need to water. There's a dandelion growing in there. How often you need to water too, because I rarely, and when I say rarely, I rarely water. If you can see that soil is pretty dry. But herbs can deal with a little bit of dryness. Some herbs, like rosemary right here. This is rosemary. It's looking so much better too, because that struggled throughout the season. They don't need a lot of water. So with that being the case, this is a situation where I do not water a lot. And they seem to be growing just fine. There's a spider in there. And see, oh, Y'all see that? These are the herbs that I had cut all them herbs off of there because they were getting woody. You see all those herbs coming back. You also see how easy it is for me to turn because it's dry. But herbs are fine to be a little bit dry. So that's where I'm going to show y'all how I do my watering. So this was perfect. This is the hose link nozzle, but it has different sprays on it. And I do think that most of them have it. I use shower. And so I just go through. And I turned the water off last night in the front. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So now this one, after I water this with y'all today, I probably won't water it for, I don't know. I can't even tell you how long it'll be before I water it again because I just don't water these a lot, right? So I don't do any counting or anything like that. But if it helps you to know how much water you should be putting in each time, maybe count each time that you watered. And then if it didn't stay moist long enough, maybe the next time add 5 or 10 more seconds. I'm not sure how you would do it for you, but I just take a moment and girl, you know what? I'll be right back. I forgot I turned this off over there. We better be back in business this time. All right, so I just go and I do kind of slow, like it's not high, because like I've said before, just pushing water in like at the highest you can is doing nothing but moving it through the soil if the soil is dry. So I'll just do this and then I'll go to the next one. And again, this takes time. Like I will turn on a YouTube video and let it play. Turn on some music, let it play, and I will just water each one of these pockets. And I probably do it for, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 seconds. I'll water each pocket. I also grab weeds and things out, so it's a good time to weed while you're doing this. And again, as you're watering it, you'll feel it start to get heavy too. And that's a good thing. That's how you know you're getting water into your soil. Also, watering it well is also a way to keep it from blowing over in wind and things like that too. So that's something that Greenstalk actually says, like, make sure it's watered well because that gives it some of the weight. So then we go down to the next one. And you can go around, you can go down, however you want to do it. I just make sure that I water each one of these pockets. And again, it is work. It is work. But you also want to make sure that you don't let it dry out too much, because if it's still a little moist, then you don't have to worry about standing here longer than you would like to, because you're not rehydrating the soil. So we're going to go around, and I'm not going to go like super long with each one because like I said, it's my herbs. And I don't want to overwater them because they're doing great without being overwatered. So probably going to put this in speed up mode so you can see me do each one of them, just not in real time. Oh, the other thing, and maybe I'll just talk through it. The other thing is I turn it every day. I just do a quarter turn. So just like this, quarter turn every day. That's what I do to make sure each one of the sides gets sun. And I do it every day because I'm pretty much out here every day anyway. So that's not a big deal to me. But I think that you could probably do it every other day and still grow your plants well. And see, I can feel this getting heavy. I mean, that doesn't mean anything to you because you're not here, but you can feel it start to get heavy, and that's when you know that your soil is becoming moist. And so this is a 7 tier. I prefer the 5 tier. Someone asked me, like, what would I grow in the 7 tier? I would grow anything that has shallow roots. Now, herbs do not have shallow roots. They do not. I, at some point, am more than likely going to have to pull some of these herbs out and separate it. I've already done that with the chives at the top. The chives in here are from my first bunch of chives in that yellow one. But I would do shallow rooted things, lettuces, beans, radishes. Let me think through it. I think kohlrabi could probably grow in here. I think anything could grow in here. But how easy is it gonna be to grow a pepper or a tomato that gets a big root system? You more than likely will be watering every day, even if you try to deep water, because they have very big root systems. In the 7 tier, I was looking at the wrong one. In the 7 tier, I would recommend shallow rooted things. And then if you're gonna do things like herbs like I'm doing, just know that more than likely at some point you're gonna have to come in here and separate them. And you can plant them somewhere else, give them to somebody else. But I do think eventually you're gonna get some, what do you call it? It's gonna get root bound. And so now I would come through here and I would fill this up. And then I will hear it start to roll through. Now, with this situation for me, this is probably pretty dry because, like I said, I don't water it that often. But I'm still only gonna put it through once. But this is what I do. If I was doing one of the 5 tiers that had peppers or tomatoes or, kale collards in it, I would do what I just did twice. So I would put this through twice and I would water each pocket twice. And that gets me 2 to 3 days without having to water. And if it rains, sometimes even longer. I don't expect rain to water my Greenstalk. I really don't, just being honest. So now, while I wait for this to run through, I would move over to this one and start to do my watering here. So you could go around or you could just do your whole thing. Just make sure you get each pocket. And of course, if I was doing a 5 tier, I would water each pocket a little bit longer because the pockets are deeper. I would not wait until I start to see my leaves and my plants start to kind of droop, because someone had mentioned in the comment too, they said that they noticed that once it gets dry, it's like permanent damage to the plants. I don't know that I've noticed that it's permanent. What I have noticed is that it takes a while to get that plant rehydrated, because it's going to take a while to get the soil rehydrated. If you notice that this is a 2 to 3 day thing for you, like it is for me, come out, take a look at your plants. If the soil tells you that they need to be watered, if when you turn it, it's light, just go ahead and water it again. Don't let it dry out as much as you can. I know that's like not easy to say, like I'm just not gonna let it dry out. Don't let it dry out as much as you can to avoid having to rehydrate it, like really work on rehydrating the soil and rehydrating the plants. So that's my spiel on watering. And on the fertilizer, for me, I'll do each pocket or I'll put it through the top. It just depends on what I'm growing, honestly. My kale and collard vertical planter, I'll more than likely do that through the top because they all need the same thing. And maybe I'll do it twice just because there's so many heavy feeders that need nitrogen. And that's how I do deep watering in my Greenstalk in 7B in Virginia, in my backyard. It might not work for everybody. I'm only sharing what I do because I have 17. I cannot water them every day and they are not on the drip system. So, well, I guess I could, but I'm not. I don't water my garden every day either. Like, I'm not going, that's a lot of work to do that every day, and I just don't do it every day. So that is my spiel. I told you I'm going to show you the space that I have in between mine. Okay, so you can see here, if you're going to put the supports on, and I have my supports on because I wanted to hold these potato plants up. If you're going to put the supports on, you need a good amount of space in between. I'm thinking this is about 2 feet of space if you look on the ground, or maybe 1.5 feet of space right here. So you need some space in between so that the supports don't hit these plants. But like the bean plants, they don't get too big. They do get a little bit bushy, but I also went ahead and put some space in between this one. So I would say, 1 foot to 2 feet of space. I did the same thing here, but before now, they were much closer and they were definitely breaking each other. By the way, look at my peppers starting to ripen on here. Look at all of those peppers. These are Big Bertha peppers. They saved my season, if I'm honest. Between the ants and the aphids and me and the ant traps, these ones in the Greenstalk actually saved my season. I'm still gonna get some green pepper harvest. So I'm pretty excited. Look, we have new ones growing on here. And this is in August, and I'm leaving them wherever they are right now. I'm just leaving them and I'm gonna let them grow. Good thing about peppers too is they're good for Greenstalks because they don't mind a little bit of dryness. So if you happen to end up having them dry out, peppers don't mind a little bit of dryness either. Oh, look at that. Hadn't even seen that. I need to come and grab that. That is a pepper that actually ripened to red with no problems. How awesome is that? And that's another one ripening to, well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take it. Another one ripening to red. Very, very nice. And then we got one right here about to ripen. So we got plenty of peppers on that one. My suggestion is a foot to 2 foot. But then if you look at my herbs, they are very close together and they do hit each other, but they don't break. And so for me, that's fine. They just slide by each other, honestly. For the herbs, I'm fine with that. And then remember, I had a calendula in there. I wouldn't put the calendula in there again that close because yeah, no. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram where I post about the things going on in my garden almost every day. Bye, y'all. Also, if I did not answer a question, if there's something that you are struggling with that you want me to talk about, leave it down in the comments. I'll more than likely answer your comment, but I will also put it in the next video. We're about to have some Greenstalk videos because I do not want people to have purchased Greenstalks and not use them. Anyway, bye, y'all.